So, couple of things, couple of announcements. Obviously, welcome back for people who were here last year. Jenna, welcome to your first call. It's great to have you. So as a recap for you guys, I know I'll put it on the Facebook group last night, but just a recap of how the calls generally work, so you're very clear of them, understand them. We've got a Kickstart call at some point, Jenna. I don't know if you booked in yet or not, but we'll go through this in more depth. But our Monday, Friday calls are our coaching confidence call. I just love the fact that I can do this, right? But they'll be where sort of our main syllabus, right? So Lorenzo has been through this once already, jumping in on the ones that he wants to do a second time. And this will run over the course of that year, like 2 or 3 times. And it changes each time. So never feel like you've done that one. It's not going to be different. There's always stuff that we're evolving. Wednesdays are deep dive. Announcements for the deep dive. So deep dive, essentially, we do 3 weeks where we go deep into one topic and one practical topic. I will be taking January's. February's, Lorenzo, do you remember Dan Walters?
Yeah. Well, he's not. Is he still coaching?
So he was coaching, and then he went into helping coaches with the sort of like exercise videos and their injury histories. And now he's also working for a physio company for some professional sports teams.
Oh, nice.
So he's going to be taking the month of February, going over key issues you guys might face with back pain, knee pain, shoulder pain, and how he deals with them. So he's going to a whole month of that, which will be really good. Also, another so that's our deep dives. We on this call, the roundtable call, which is where we're just going to be having our sort of like weekly status check. Where your clients are at, how many clients you got. Obviously, I'm not the person that helps with that. Obviously, a lot of people know Ollie Carson helps everyone other than Lorenzo with that. But we're going to be like, how many of them are on track to get the results you want with them? How many aren't? And then we'll open the floor for the rest of the time and just sort of go through as many of those as possible and see if we can help those people out. Lorenzo, I'm sure you can attest to how useful these hours have been.
Yeah, no, definitely. What, the one-to-one ones or these calls?
Well, both, but these ones in particular.
Definitely my favorite calls.
Perfect. So one couple more things, dates for your diary before we get started. Wednesday, the 10th of January at 3 p.m. we have a guest speaker from Ben Yanes. Who knows Ben Yanes? Big up Ben Yanes. So Kane obviously knows Ben Yanes. Mr. Anchor. Lorenzo, do you know who Ben Yanes is? You guys should definitely give Ben Yanes a follow. So Ben Yanes is very big in this sort of the exercise mechanics world. Popular, famously got into a few disputes with Cass Manson. Sorry, me spitting everywhere. And he's going to be doing a lecture on programming for the upper body. Right? So, because we know that Michael Goulden did the guest lecture before on squat mechanics, and we've done a lot of lower body stuff. Tony Gentlecore did a few lower body stuff. This is going to be specifically for the upper body. And then the next big thing is the following Sunday on the 14th of Jan. We've got our first in-person event. So I know Kane is coming for sure. Stephen Hanley's coming, I think. I think he's booked his tickets now. Gavin Landover's coming. James, are you in? You've been seeming excited for it, so I assume you are. He's probably driving. He's always driving, this man. Like, the amount of times I would have Kane and James drove past each other is insane. Yeah, okay. Jenna, you're available for it, aren't you? Perfect.
Yeah,
Lorenzo,
yeah.
you around for it?
What day is that? The 10th?
Sunday. So 10th is online. The
Yeah,
Sunday.
what time is it? Because my sister's birthday is Saturday, the 30th, Saturday evening. So I don't know if that's going to be a heavy one.
It'll probably kick off around 10 o'clolock.
10 o'clock. All right. Should be there, yeah. I can't do the training though. I might just leave for the training session. I can't train.
Is that because you're hungover or injured?
No. My knees and my shoulders fucked at the moment. So I literally, if you're training, it's not going to happen.
Okay, cool. So here's what I would do then. Stay for, and let me bring this up now onto
How have you hurt your knees and your shoulders? Is that at the same time?
Oh, they're just like old issues. No. I don't know what it is, because I spoke to you about this, Simon. They've just like flared up again. There's like really old sort of issues I've had. And I think it's because I dieted and went in pretty hard and like made my body just really stressed and everything just kills at the moment.
So a bit of inflammation, you think?
Probably, but I know that I can train. I'm fine training, but if I like do new movements that my body just isn't used to and I train hard, they'll just flare up even more.
Cool. Well, what I'll do is if I open up this is the post I put out, and let me pin this so you can actually read it. So we've got my buddy Steve Collins. So Steve is masters in strength and conditioning. He's also coached for everyone from Gen Pop all the way through to elderly women wanting to move better. He's worked with a number of professional sports teams. So Cameron, Happy New Year, by the way. What a great time to come in, because this is the guy that will help you. He's done a number of professional sports teams. He's worked with a lot of high level high rocks athletes. So he's going to be talking periodization. People know me as a periodization guy. This guy is next level of a periodization guy. I've happened to catch him. He lives in Perth, but I've happened to catch him when he's back for Christmas. So that'll be really, really good. So that'll be our AM lecture. And then in the afternoon, we will be going into our program building workshop. I wanted to make this as interactive as possible. I don't want to just talk at you throughout a seminar. So we're going to get helping you guys build out or refine the skeleton programs that you may have already built or new to building, and we're going to start building them there. We want you to leave the day with some programs. So we're going to go through a couple of different modalities, me and Steve. We're going to have some times where you go and write them. We're going to come around. We're going to help you. We're going to like question these things and together build something quite special. Then we're going to break for lunch, and in the PM, we're going to go through gym floor skills. So Lorenzo, I'd say definitely come to this one. Gym floor skills is where we're going to kind of go through all the equipment. I know, Jenna, you haven't done one-to-one coaching. This could be very game-changing for you, because this is teaching you all the gym floor skills I learned over the last 30 years. How to set up for different people, how to initiate, how to go through the movements, which then flows us nicely into our training session to end the day. So Lorenzo, if you go through the gym floor skills, we might be able to find positions for all the exercises we decide to do that feel okay. If we don't, feel free to head at that point.
Yeah.
Cool. Let me just make sure this doesn't follow me around here, because I did a hand gesture. So that's the flow of the day. That'll be a week on Sunday. Cameron, can you make it a week on Sunday?
Yeah, I'll be there. Looking forward to it.
Legend. Love it. Looking forward to it. Cool. So, and did you have a nice new year?
Very good, thank you. How about yourself?
Yeah, mate, really good, really good. Tired now, but 100% worth it. Cool. So, going into the roundtable itself, the roundtables are going to stay relatively unchanged. We're going to make one key difference for 2024 compared to 2023, and that we're going to do a bit of a status check at the start of each call, because what we find is that people like Kane, who's like super keen and wants to learn, Lorenzo, who's super organized and has all these data to hand at all times, get so much from these. And we find that some people will linger in the background when they're like, I don't know what clients to talk about. I don't know what questions to ask. So I don't mind if you use this or your own version of this, but for the people that are relatively new here, I just want to kind of quickly go through the mentor forms and how we're going to be using these at the start of these sessions. This hopefully very soon is going to be moved onto the site, but it'll be very, very similar. So all your clients' names are going to come down on the left-hand side, and you're going to put in their starting body weight. So we're going to put in, let's say Steve Jobs put on a lot of weight. He's 97 kilos and he's 31% body fat. Let's say he wants to get shredded. So we're going to put him at, let's say 10. Let's make it, actually, no, let's make him really shredded. Let's make 6%, right? So we now know that Steve would need to get down to 71, right? We now know that if he agrees rate of loss is 1%, he would need to lose 0.9 per week. And it would take him 26 weeks to achieve that goal. If you wanted a more sort of slow and steady approach, you could go 0.5, which means he would need to take a year, basically, to achieve this goal. So do this with all of your clients sort of once, just so you get an idea of where their starting point is. Everyone has a clear start and a clear end date, because if you don't know where your clients are at in relation to their goal, it's very difficult to make adjustments. It's very difficult to have difficult conversations with them, because you can't reference it back to anything. And I'm going to, before I go to Kane's Rain's hands, I'm going to come to Lorenzo here. Lorenzo, you did not like difficult conversations when you started, right? How much has being able to have data to reference back made this easier for you?
Yeah, really easy. I think sometimes I get so busy that I've what's the word? Like forget stuff. But like whenever I jump on my like catch up calls with clients, you can just bring everything up and just show them the facts and whatnot, which really helps.
Yeah. Kane, what were you wanting to add? Was you unpacking McDonald's?
Actually, Tesco. I don't do McDonald's. I was going to say, like with that sort of thing, especially with the planning ahead, you know, a thing where it's like, here's where you're going to be in so many weeks, right? Mm-hmm. how do you almost like go about it when a client's almost quite fixated on like certain body parts coming in and stuff? Like I've got a guy who's doing really good, but he's like, when do you think my stomach's going to come in a bit more? And it's like, well, whenever. But
so yeah, there's an element of this.
You know
so
what I
like,
mean?
yeah. So to everyone says you can't spot reduced body fat, which isn't entirely true, by the way. You can, but nothing negligible. Like it's so small it doesn't really make that much difference. You can spot add though. And this is the reason why guys, and I know this is slightly going off your question, but I'll double back to it, Kane. This is the reason why guys can get bitch tits. This is the reason why girls struggle with more with their legs and bum than guys do, because different hormone balances will affect these. This is where Charles Poliquin was onto something. So when it comes to losing stuff, there's never really a definitive answer for this, but the best thing I would say is like fat tends to come from the top down. So you'll see people lose their face first. And this is also important when clients come to you and worry about their face looking a bit gaunt. It's like, look, I appreciate this. This is a necessary part of this. You're going to have to look relatively flat for a period of time, but don't worry. When we carb up, this will change. But if you kind of go there, if you're starting to see their face come in, their arms come in, around the chest come in, or their upper abs start to come in, you can at least reassure them, look, it's coming from the top down. This is the next bit to go. Because even though girls tend to complain about the legs more, guys struggle with fat loss on the legs too. They just don't store it there on the first place for it to generally bother them. But if any of you have seen a bodybuilder try and get their glutes and hamstrings in, it's a pain. It's awful. From someone that's had striated glutes, that took a long time. So if that sort of answers your question, just to reaffirm them that, look, it comes from the top down. You can see it happening and let them know almost that it's next. And that plays into people's psyches as well. If you ever look at the science of slot machines and gambling, which is really interesting, it's not only is it the uncertainty that excites people, it's almost the almost win. When I've almost got it, when I've got 2 cherries but not the third, is what keeps people playing rather than giving up. So if you can kind of go, look, it's coming from the top down, we're just about to get rid of it, that's when people will just keep going. And eventually you'll see it. You know it's time. They really know it's time. They're just trying to be impatient. That's your question.
I mean, I've just said you've lost like 1 to 1.5% a week. It's going to come off.
Yeah.
You just kind of got to go off other ways of measuring it as well, and not just like
exactly
being that.
Exactly. So then when you've got all your clients in here, this bit is what you're going to change. Ideally each week. And again, I get you're going to be very, very busy, but I think this is absolutely invaluable. When I first did a version of this when I was at UP, I couldn't quite believe how many of my clients were more off track than I thought. Especially one-to-one. You lure yourself into a false sense of security that Steve's doing fine, and you just chatted about his dog for 6 weeks, and you realize he hasn't lost any weight. And it's only when you write it down, you go, oh, shit. They haven't lost any weight for 6 weeks. Imagine if every single week you checked in and see who was on track and who's not. You would be in such a better place because you'd have an urgency. You'd be like, fuck, Jane's off track. I need to check in on her. So in here, write what the current body weight is. Obviously, current body fat you might not do regularly. Maybe you just visualize it from a photograph. Maybe you use the Navy body fat test. Maybe you'll do it off various other things. Maybe you get hands-on and do calipers. But whatever way you're doing it, have a bit of a visual there. Change in body weight last week. So let's say this person was 0.6. A rough overview of calories, macros of training, and then a summary. Now, these two are probably the only ones that are going to change every single week. The others are probably not going to change that much. So while it might look overwhelming, it doesn't take that much time to update this because it's only like 1 or 2 squares. But the reason why I bring this up now is that what we're going to be doing, can I teach you calipers? I can try and teach you calipers if you want, mate. I don't think it's absolutely necessary, but I can do. If there's Harpenden Skinville calipers at the event and you're happy to stick around, I'll quickly show you how to use them. And that's open for everybody. I'm not in a rush to go anywhere. Have you got Harpendens? Or you got shitty plastic ones? I ain't teaching you on shitty plastic ones. So essentially what we're going to do at the start of these meetings before we go into sort of open Q&A with your clients, oh, perfect. Yeah, no problem. We're going to go through how many clients do you all have. So if you know this now, put it in the chat. How many clients do you have on your books right now? Cool. So 20, 24. What's not enough, Kane? That's not a number. 36, 8. Cool. So to give you an idea here, we want to be shooting. Well, that's good. We want to be shooting for a 1 in 4 ratio with your clients. Now, there's two sides to this, right? Because some people look at a 1 in 4 ratio and go, "Oh, do you know what? It's all right that 3 out of 4 clients aren't progressing. That's normal. That's okay. Give yourself a break. Don't give up on them. Don't take your foot off the gas." But no one's going to have a 100% client roster. Some of you may look at 1 in 4 and go, "Holy shit, I'm well behind that." If we can get you to 1 in 4, you're better than 90% of the coaches out there. I promise you. Especially if you've also been in shape, because your clients will be inspired by you, right? So we've got 36, 8, 20, 24, if I'm correctly right. Yeah, cool. So now this doesn't necessarily have to be body composition goal of this next question. We've obviously, that mental form is based around body composition, but some people like Cameron's going to be maybe performance related goals. But whatever your goal is, you want to make sure that you have a way of tracking this target. So what I often find is that trainers who don't have body composition goals with their clients tend to get in a position where they're sort of going through the motions and have no idea whether their client's on track. If you're not testing and retesting, you have no idea what you're doing. And not only do you have no idea what you're doing, you don't know what worked and what didn't. So even if you do achieve a massive result with your client, let's say, and I know he is, but let's say Cameron wasn't tracking anything with his clients and they, like 3 of them had the best season ever. You pat yourself on your back for 2 minutes, but then you'd be immediately going, "Oh, what did I do? What do I do with the next client?" And you never improve your confidence with your coaching. Hence why this is called the confidence roundtable. So whatever the goal is, have something to track it so you know when you come to these meetings. So out of these clients right now, if you know this data, and if you don't, feel free to say don't know. This is something to get for next week. How many of those clients are on track to whatever target that they have? And if you've got maintenance clients, there's a performance goal that you need. Cool. It's your first call, Jenna. No stress. This is where Lorenzo is going to show the value of this course because he's going to come up with a number. We can see him. He's counting them down. And I'm liking the fact this has taken a while. How many of those clients are on track? Like, are progressing as planned to target? And you can, if it's a bad week because of like menstrual cycle, like they're on track, right? When we go through the adjustments, you'll know that. At least 4, so that's 1 and 2. So at least a 1 and 2. So potentially that means Kane's got 4 clients that potentially we'll come back to actually. Lorenzo, Cameron, we got a number, a rough number. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just a rough idea for you guys.
Probably like 70, 60, 70. But then also take away maybe 6 that are just starting. Just starting.
They're just starting. They're still on the track.
Yeah, okay, so add them as well.
They're not off track yet. Like
when I say on track, I don't mean like 100% on the weight target. I mean like they're progressing and they're relatively within close to where we sort of.
Yeah. It's never going to be a perfect 0.7, 0.7, 0.7, 0.7. If it's somewhere between 0.5% to 1% per week of a weight loss target, they're good. They're golden, right? Cameron, have you got an idea or?
I'll put 4 in the chat. 4.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I missed it. Yeah, cool. So we've got a varying amount of numbers here. Now, some of these people are going to be relatively maintenance, right? In terms of like they're not off track, they're not on track, they're sort of there. How many people would you say are off track? Right? How many people do you feel you need help with? And then I'll open the floor. And again, when I open the floor, it doesn't mean you have to come up with the clients that are off track. I know Lorenzo's got like 4 or 5 people maybe doing a photo shoot soon. We'll go over the most exciting clients too. But I just want to use the start of these calls to give you a bit of a awareness of where your current roster are. How good are you being as a coach each week? How do you propose a group shoot? Lorenzo, you're probably the best person to ask for this. How would you propose a group shoot?
So I just individually just said in their check-ins like where they're at, what I think they can achieve.
Mm.
I hyped them up and just said, "You'd be stupid not to do it." I said I'll pay for the day and everything, and then I reinforced the fact that it's a guy shoot as well. I was like, "Yeah, we'll get food after, have a laugh, blah blah blah," and then I put them in a WhatsApp group as well. And like literally only one person said no, but he also just doesn't want his face in photos anyway, so we couldn't really do much with that.
Yeah. So I think that's important. I also would say, as regards to that, it's like book it and just get people to like that urgency is a great way of doing it. Like book it, make it a big event of it, make a day of it. Like Simon Howard, I know the videographer's coming, but hopefully Simon's coming as well. If Simon turns up on Week on Sunday, all make friends with Simon. He's the best photographer on the planet. And like he'll be able to help with this sort of stuff. Jenna, what do you do? Because you do a bunch of them and they all look really good.
Yeah, do you know what? The first one I covered myself, just to get the ball rolling, and now the girls are constantly like, "When's the next one? It's so fun. Can we book on?" So I just try and do it 3 months recurring, and yeah, they absolutely love it. We make a thing of it, like Lorenzo said, we're going to have a laugh and get food and stuff, and yeah, it becomes just a thing they want to do. I don't know for you, Ken, about rough cost. Maybe one of the other guys will help with that. I think the girls is a bit different.
It's been a while since I've done one. To give you a rough idea, again, I know Simon potentially doing this as a little bit of a deal for me because I'm going to be using him regularly. But it was $299 for the reels package, which will be filmed for 10 reels. And that I've got him for the entire day. So probably imagine it being roughly around that. Maybe a little bit more if they start to, for the photographer, they start to do it by head. It depends how much of a favor you get from them. Yeah, roughly like that. But it might be a little bit more. Because it depends if they do it per shoot. Because obviously a shoot would probably be that per person. So it could scale from that. Who'd you use, Kane?
Bailey.
Okay. I don't know what Bailey costs. I've never used him. What I also like as well, I know it's different. You can't necessarily, all you guys, coach guys can't do this. What I like about how Jenna's shoots appear is they seem a bit different. Like they're not just in a gym flexing and grunting. Like there's a bit of a theme to them. There's a bit of a lifestyle stuff, which is quite cool, I think. I've always been between 200 and 400 per person. Yeah, so like, yeah, so it can get quite pricey, but if it leads to multiple, it might be worth it. So going back to this, we've got 5 off track, the rest in between / too comfortable. Cool. So too comfortable being a very, very key thing, right? And this is the great time to like reestablish goals for those people that are too comfortable, right? Put a 1 in the chat right now if you've got clients on your current roster you feel are in comfort mode. I'm pretty certain nearly everyone. Maybe not Kane because he's relatively fresh and got a fresh bunch of clients. But even so, there we go. Even that proves my point. Everyone's going to be a bit like that, and everyone's going to have new year goals. So this may be the time to jump on as many calls with some of these people as possible and just get something they're excited about. You know, in the Kickstart course, Cameron, who talked about the past, future, present model. Do that on calls with people. So find out why the stuff that makes them miserable in their current body composition, play it a bit, poke it with a stick a bit, find out the future, get them excited about the person they could become in 2024, and then find out where that barrier is. Why don't they look like that already? And then put a plan in place and then break that down into daily actions. If you can do that, you'll probably get, if there's 5 or 6 people like that, you probably get 2 of them off. So it's worth a try. Cool. So now we have an idea of how many people are on or off track, right? Floor is open. Lorenzo, as the resident sort of like veteran of the roundtables, do you want to start? Have you got a particular client you want to go over today?
Yeah, I got a couple setups today.
Cool.
One guy is coming to me. He's already lost quite a lot of weight anyway. I think he said he's losing like 2 kg a month. And but he's been doing keto for like, how long is it? Maybe 3 months. He doesn't want to budge on it. So he basically come to me and he wants to just like build muscle and still like lose like 5 kg. But he said, I was like, do you need help with nutrition? But he doesn't want me to help him with it.
Okay.
So just wondering what your thoughts would be on that.
What I first delve into why.
Yeah,
So
no,
why is it that he doesn't want help with nutrition? What's he worried about you helping?
I think it's just, I always find this, especially that guy Reese I spoke to you about, is that when people come in and they've tried these types of things, it's like you try and change them. It's almost like they're part of a cult, isn't it? Like they just won't fucking change. And
And
if you
also, people have
change them,
been it's their savior, right? If they've been really unhappy and keto's been the answer, they don't
Yeah.
want to budge on it because it's been the answer.
yeah, and he just said like he feels amazing, so I'm not gonna change that. But I did look at what he said in terms of the foods he's eating, and it's so low in protein anyway. So obviously that change. So well, yeah, I'm just thinking, how would you sort of address that?
I would start with training. Like, because he still wants to lose weight and gain muscle. How long has he been training in general? Is he a relative beginner?
Didn't even say, to be fair, but he's home workouts. This is the problem. I don't know how much you can build at home on keto.
My days, he's not making this easy for you, is he? Home workouts
Nah.
and no carbohydrates, and he wants to gain tissue. Good fucking luck.
Yeah, exactly. So that's another sort of thing that kind of factors into it as well.
I think for theirs, like, make the best program you can make, and we'll give you some tips on home workout stuff, right? But like, make the best program you can make, and when you present it to him on like a kickstart call, kind of go through and just be like explain the downsides of this. Not that you're going to change them. Look, we're doing your home plan, but here's the thing you might come against. It's setting expectations again, right? So if someone wanted to come to you and wanted to lose 20 kilos in 20 weeks, but didn't want to do the steps and didn't want to give up pizza, you got to have a conversation and going, well, we can do this, but if you're not tracking any of your weekends, you're having pizza 3 nights a week and you're not doing any of the steps, this might happen slower for you. And the conversation I'll be having here is like, look, we're going to put this plan together, go through the plan, and basically just sort of explain, look, building muscle is a very, very slow process. And this is in people who are, eating the carbohydrates and explain why carbohydrates are good for building tissue, right? So carbohydrates essentially are going to fuel performance. They are protein sparing for a man who eats low protein, right? And is that going to be that progression there that's going to help him? Second thing, we need to eventually be in a caloric surplus. So he's already has a bit of his expectations a little bit off because he's expecting to, if he's a beginner, he might do it for a while, but eventually we all know that this guy's not going to be able to sort of completely recomp, regardless how many grams of carbohydrates he is. So just explain it and let him make the choice. But if he's so attached to keto and home training, and as long as he knows that his progress has a window, that's his call.
Yeah, just set the
But it's not. But you just need to make sure that's off your back.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, so then he's not like judging me on it and saying it's my fault, essentially, when I've set the expectation and said it's
exactly that. Exactly that.
my
Like,
better, yeah.
are you comfortable making the home workout plan?
I've already made one. Like, I've literally just thought, how can I batter him with bodyweight stuff? So that's it, essentially. I thought at least if he's doing something and he feels like he's, regardless of the results, if he feels like he's being worked and he gets a bit like a benefit just from the training itself, I thought that would be a good idea.
And if we think here, wipe off my very, very overly complicated diagram from our last coaching confidence call. If you think here, what open floor, 3 drivers of hypertrophy. What are they?
You're asking me, or?
I'm asking anyone.
Yeah, tension.
So mechanical tension. What's the other 2? Someone other than Lorenzo.
What's that, sorry?
Someone other than Lorenzo. Mechanical tension's 1.
I did say it as well.
What else we got?
Go again, Kane.
I know it until I get asked it, and then I'm just
Anyone?
muscle damage.
Muscle damage. Probably the least important one we're finding out now. And then the last
Progressive
one,
overload.
metabolic stress.
Wow.
Always 3 M's. Right? The biggest one is this one. Mechanical tension. Right? So this is our progressive overload. So we can split this into 2 things. Acute overload and progressive overload. So acute overload is, have we made the rep as dialed in as possible? And we'll teach you this at the event, how to do that, right? So have we made each individual rep as efficient as humanly possible. If anyone saw on the Facebook group the other day, I put up that thing about increasing intensity in terms of like when we progress, right? Beginners, you increase intensity over the course of the block, so you make them more efficient, bring volume down. When someone's here, where they can get the most from the least amount of work, it's easier to recover from. They're creating the max amount of stimulus possible, but then it stops working. Then you add volume. Kane, what are you gonna ask?
So with the mechanical tension, if that is like your time under tension and stuff like that, from what I've looked into, you have time under tension and time under significant tension, right? So it's
Right.
like, at what point is there like a point where it's not too much, but like wasted sort of thing, you know? Like if someone's going too slowly, or is it more
Okay.
pausing in points where you're strong, or is it like
So there's a few things that break into this. The short and easy answer to that question, when is it too much? It's too much when you can't recover from it. In a nutshell, right? So
Yeah.
And like it's also like when we look at additions of how do we create more mechanical tension, there's various ways we can create more mechanical tension. What do we have at our disposal, which will circle us slightly back on the home workout thing, and also what's going to be the biggest needle mover. So we talk about hypertrophy lectures in 5 or 6 weeks time. We'll literally have this diagram of needle moving. Now, when we look at needle moving, it's like, well, if I'm going so slowly, like if I'm going 8 seconds down, 3 seconds hold, 8 seconds up, I create a lot of tension. But because of the crazy eccentrics, I also create a lot of muscle damage, which is good to a point. But what is the problem with excessive muscle damage? Didn't mean to do that. What's the problem with excessive muscle damage? Is that it's
longer recovery?
It's harder to recover from, right? Which then defeats the point. Come on. So like if we've got this also, what's going to create more mechanical tension? Adding 3 more seconds on the eccentric, or adding 10 pounds to the bar? Probably adding 10 pounds to the bar. Now it's hard to track that without loads of sciencey stuff. So with regards to like tension, I think like I'm talking gym programs here. A controlled rep where you have key controlled start and end points, pauses, you initiate from the working muscle, right? It's relatively slow but not ridiculous, and then progress load until load can't be the thing anymore. Then play around with your other things you can progress with. Right? Now, when it comes to home workouts, this is still going to be your biggest driving force, but you can't use load as an example. So what you're going to play around with, you first get him progressing. Let's say let's build this out. So we have, what is your program you've given him so far?
I literally just did, because it's mainly upper body, I literally just basically did like 2 upper body days, but I just threw in like quads on one day and like glutes, hamstrings on the other.
Yeah, I would like if he's how many often is he training?
3 days a week.
Yeah, I'd stick to full body where possible.
Yeah.
Get as much frequency as you can. Superset, straight sets?
Yeah, supersets. So I basically just like supersetted, for example, like chest back, and then like a kind of similar to GBC anyway, like arms and shoulders at the end.
I like that sort of structure.
But because like it's just bands and like 5 kg dumbbells, I've literally
5 kg?
I've done C1, C2, C3, C4, where like it's basically banded work for like tricep and bicep, and then like body weight as well, just to put as much.
What's his reasoning for not going to the gym? Too far? Doesn't like it? Intimidated?
Do you know, I don't even remember. I did the call like between Christmas and New Year, and I was just fucking knackered, so I don't even remember.
Yeah.
Most of the things I probably should ask more questions, but I'll talk to him obviously tomorrow in his onboarding call about it.
Yeah, cool. So we've got vertical push, vertical pull, horizontal pull, horizontal push, right? Bilateral squat.
Yeah, pretty much.
Knee flexion. Hip extension. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What am I missing? Unilateral squat. And then you get your target area stuff, right? So if we want to create more mechanical tension here, we again, same rules apply when it comes to program design, right? Put in these, slot in what are the key things you're going to be looking for here. So we're looking for vertical pulls. Your options for vertical pulls here are probably going to be bands, shins, if you can do them or has access to them, and maybe pullovers. Pullovers will bias the length and range, which could potentially be slightly more hypertrophic. That could be a good option here. Vertical push, you're probably going to be looking at laterals, probably, if it's your main one, if you've only got 5 kilo dumbbells. Presses, we could potentially do. We'll come back to that. And then horizontal pull, you're going to be potentially looking at presses. And then maybe flies. And I would really look at leaning into length and range challenges if you haven't got much load. So pauses and length and range is things that challenge the length and range. Like, if I press, right, the reason why we choose a press over a fly is because we can load it more. But if you can't load it more, why don't we just do the fly? Right? Bilateral squat patterns. We have goblets. We have wall sits. Potentially. Knee flexion. We have a towel leg curl. Have you ever done that?
No, but I know what they are. Actually, yeah, it's a good idea.
We have Nordics. Hip extension. We have obviously hip thrust. We have single leg hip thrust, which is probably my favorite. That can work really, really well. And then a unilateral squat, we've got a split squat variations. So it gives us a bunch of exercises. And then from there, we're going to slot in these over the course of potentially 2 days that he alternates. And then what I would then do is start playing around with things like pre-exhaust. Pauses. Longer eccentrics. Because you have, as the opposite of what Kane's question was, because you don't have the option for load, play around with these other
Make
methods.
it hard. Yeah, just make it as challenging as possible.
Yeah. Does that give you something to start with?
Yeah, it's kind of similar to what I've done actually, but I'll make some tweaks now. He also mentioned about he's got a neck herniated disc that can affect his shoulder or neck area. Would you say just chat to him because I won't know what ranges are? Like,
Yeah, find out what range he is. Maybe test his overhead range. He said it's cervical.
Just said neck herniated disc. This is just this question.
So neck would assume. So we've got cervical spine, thoracic spine, lumbar spine, right?
Yeah.
So you assume it's cervical. So you're probably going to be affecting more his overhead range than his hip. But then if you've got his photos, maybe look at that side pose and just see where his position is and see if there's anything that can be worked on from there.
You saw the photo he sent me. Oh my, this guy. I don't know if I've got it here.
You can share screen if you want to.
No, it's not.
Whilst you're finding this, Kane, why are you selling Cybex equipment all of a sudden?
Side hustle.
I don't know if you can see it.
Not really. Hold on, let me pin you.
Front side and back, and he sent me this. He's from Israel, so I don't know.
No way. Tell
What the
him to
fuck?
take another photo.
Obviously, I will, but I just he's quite a strange guy. He said he was in a
The
military.
Tinder profile pic, that is.
That's awful. Like this guy, does he speak English?
Yeah, no, perfect English. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's not taking this seriously. Like, you take charge of this client. He is the most. He is like if you had like a level of scale of deluded clients, he is on the deluded end.
Yeah.
Like this guy needs a wake up call. It's like, look, dude, like you're trying to build muscle with 5 kilo dumbbells whilst losing body fat on a keto diet. Whilst you send me a picture of you in a fucking tux. He ain't James Bond. He needs a wake up call. Fucking hell. Hopefully that gives the giving narcissist vibes. It's a little bit gang like mob boss, doesn't it? I've had a few people I've generally thought I've had people in the Serbian mob. I really have. Before. So you go into I remember muscle mentors were like you shouldn't do flies because the strength profile, and then dumbbell presses were fine. Just leverage is changing. Well, just leverage it. It's still a length and range challenge. And here's a good thing, because you'll see this is an argument you'll see a lot at the moment, right? Michael Gistel will say there's no point reverse banding exercises because we want to challenge more of the lengthened position. Okay, right. But the problem with that is when you reverse band an exercise, you put more weight on the machine. But it's still just as challenging in the length and range it was before, but now it's also challenging the shortened range. But on the flip side of that, you'll still see people that they say you should never do an exercise if the profiles don't match. Well, maybe you want to spend a bit more time in that lengthened position. And if you haven't got access to a full gym, then maybe this is a great exercise because you can challenge it with 5 kilo pink dumbbells.
And if the profile doesn't match, but path is normally shit.
Yeah, and if profile doesn't match, you can also do 2 exercises. Right? Like people try and optimize exercises and they send Mary from Kent in with a fucking daisy chain and 17 bands. I'm like, just do 2 exercises. She's already scared of the gym and now she's hooking up a Smith machine with a reverse band. If I had space, Kane, I would buy it off you. I actually would. I look at this and go, I wish I had my home gym available, but unfortunately, alas, I can't fit them in here very easily. Maybe I get rid of my wardrobe. Who needs clothes, right? I just have a leg extension.
I've got a leg extension and a chest press.
Yeah, well, God, that's all I need, right? I can just get the front of my body really jacked and just never turn side on to anyone, ever. Jenna, is there any particular clients or any particular topics that you want to go through in this hour that you want help with?
No, I'm quite happy just to kind of come
observe the first
one.
one.
Yeah, and then next week I'll get stuck in. Yeah, no, it's been helpful. Thank you.
No problem at all. Cameron, how are we getting on? How's you guys getting on over Christmas and New Year? Any Boxing Day matches?
Yeah, there was a couple of wins. We lost, but here's what it is. Yeah, there's really 2 things. Number one is regarding plyometrics, and my topic is the bodyweight training. Like in terms of progressing it, obviously you don't really want to add too much. There's certain exercises you can add load to, but it's more about like maybe going from 2 legs to 1 leg or adding an extra set. Like how would you progress plyometrics, or is that literally what you do? Just try and progress a single leg, maybe increasing the height of the box.
Yeah, like it's because what we're looking at for plyometrics. So plyometrics is one of those things where, again, I am by far, it's not my massive area of expertise, right? But I can certainly find out more about it. But the way I look at it, when you're looking at plyometrics, you're looking at what? Explosive power, and you're looking at potentially things to fire up the nervous system. So the things that, like, it's more about the power that comes off the floor necessarily than the height of the box itself. The height of the box sort of just is a metric to make somebody deliver the force that you're looking for, right? So it's like how you don't I personally think you have a crazy amount of wiggle room to progress stuff, because I think like people use plyometrics so wrong. And I know you aren't one of these people, but like using like making like hop bounce back. It's like it's a hop, it's a stop, it's down, it's explosive. You're not looking for crazy amounts of fatigue here. It's a performance metric. So it's like, well, what are the things that we're going to be looking at tracking here? Well, we're looking at tracking explosive power. Well, there's 2 ways of doing this. There's the really expensive way and get a force plate, but the most accurate way, or the easier way, measure height of the box. Not as accurate, but at least it's something you can go, okay. And then you maybe then single leg evens out discrepancies, works on some other things, proprioception, balance, that sort of stuff. So, I mean, if you were going to go single leg stuff, I'd potentially look at like, how do you support that in the rest of your program? So if somebody like, because why would you do a single leg plyometric? What's your rationale?
Well, I was building up my journey. I don't know. So I can't remember who was putting it in the group. They built a journey of like I think it was like a 12-week journey. Mine's more like a 16-week journey. So what it is, when they start out, a lot of the guys, they've never done plyometrics before, so they're going to start off bilateral on the spot. It's probably like, it's not even a true plyometric. It's probably just a squat jump, just getting used to landing, absorbing the force, things like that.
Yeah,
and then progressing over the weeks and months to be able to go to the more explosive ones, maybe, I don't know, box jumps or pogo jumps, which would actually be a true plyo, and then go into like a single leg. I'm trying to think what I'll put in, maybe a single leg pogo, maybe further down the line. So it's, the rationale behind it is, once they've made that progress, is further down, later down the line in the program, once they've made that progress, they got to a point where pogos aren't probably giving them the same effect as it was at the beginning. How can I then progress that? And it's, rather than doing a weighted pogo, just go to a single leg and do it like less.
And I think single leg, then like single leg and bilateral plyometrics train very different things.
Yeah.
Because when we start looking at bilateral stuff, it really is like, if I'm looking at creating the most amount of power physically possible, let me just stop this thing following me. But then I'd go bilateral every time. But what happens when I go to one leg? It now becomes like, how much can we balance over center of mass? So maybe the progression on that isn't actually with the pogos themselves, but it's what we do in the other parts of the program. So
How
like,
do you mean?
so like, because if I'm hold on now I do want it to follow me. Come on. So if I'm oh for sake, if I can get this thing to follow me again. If I'm looking at here, if I'm looking at this position here, I can create a lot of power here. I can't really create a lot of power here.
Yeah.
What's going to allow me to do this and land, right, without falling over and hopefully without hitting my head off the lampshade, is going to be my ability to keep balance over my base of support. So my center of mass now is basically down between both of my feet. Now, it probably goes over midfoot here. So the things that I want to be able to improve, I want to improve this skill of jumping here. I need to improve the ability to stand like this.
Got ya.
So then, like, because it's hard to now progress, like truly progress a single leg box jump, we can play around with height maybe, or power if we have it, or ability to land and stay standing, like time could be something. But what we could progress is unilateral exercises, is single leg presses, like, could they stand on what? Here's the thing to test with all your athletes: get them to stand on one leg and get them to close their eyes.
Yeah, that's something I do. Yeah, nobody can do it at the beginning.
No, it's really hard, really hard. I don't even know if I can. I'm gonna try this. This could end really badly. So I'm all right here. But as soon as I do this, I can't use my eyes to create some proprioception. Now all of a sudden I'm actually having to use the muscles of my foot. That's insanely difficult. So we can play around with those sort of things, and in turn, there's an element of trust here, unless you're a force plate, that is now progressing that.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So, like, I'm generally a fan, and again, on Sunday, ask this same question to Steve.
Okay.
Because Steve would be the man who knows a lot more about this than I do. But I'm almost very much like, my approach, if someone said you're going to be in charge of a sports team tomorrow, I'd look, okay, what are the basic things that I can track? And that's the foundation of my program. And like, I'm looking at progressing those things. And it's not very different from stuff I'd track with a Gen Pop person wanting necessarily to build muscle. There'd be more strength focused goal on there. Some people would need more muscle. Some people need more general outright strength. But it'd be stuff that I know that I can go, right, I can track force output. Another one thing that might be interesting to you is, have you heard of Output Sports?
No.
I'm having a call with them tomorrow, actually. So Output Sports is, and again, I don't know how expensive they are, but they've just linked up with Kilo Strength.
Oh, right.
Let me share this profile.
Was it on Insta?
Yeah, but what I'll do is I'll put it in the chat because I'm sure that other people will be nerdy enough to want to listen to it rather than just me saying it directly to you. But they're a little device that you can wear that will actually track the amount of power that comes out of plyometrics.
Oh, nice.
So you can do, let's say from here, the amount of contacts they'll track in a certain amount of time. They can track balance. They track force output. They track Nordics. They track jumps, slams, throws, and swings. Reactive strength index. So that will be interesting for you. So like that and velocity based training.
Oh, awesome.
So like I'll find out tomorrow a little bit more details on that. I'd love to try and strike a partnership with them in some way, shape, or form. But that could make the untrackable trackable. Might not be relevant for a body composition thing where weight on the bar is the main thing, but the more things you've got to track, like over time, if you want to become a really good coach, if you invest in things that allow you to track more stuff and create more, because the more data points you have, the more certainty you have. The more certainty you have, the easier it is to make decisions. The easier it is to make decisions, the quicker your clients progress. And that comes from adherence as well, right? If your clients don't want to follow the diet and you can show them 50 different data points, not that everyone will track 50 data points, but that what they're doing isn't working, it's very much harder to argue with that. So like when I went in to do 6 weeks with Michael Goulden, PT, he had things to measure force output on adduction, internal rotation, external rotation. He did range of motion testing and a bunch of stuff. And he only used what was relevant at the time. I wasn't there for an hour and a half doing tests, but having those options.
Nice.
Paul Stanley had a force output device, showed how much stronger you were at different parts of movements. That would be the same as what Michael Goulden has, I'm sure. And that's really interesting. That would it be helpful for Gen Pop clients too? What Paul Stanley showed you would be, because let's say for sake of like, and again, Paul would know more about this than me because I've not really had as much to play around with them. But having had that used on me, so let's say I get out to a certain part, I can see discrepancy between left and right in hip abduction. Right, which is an example in my case. I've got really shit hip abduction on my right-hand side. And then we can see how quickly that force output falls through the floor. We know we've potentially gone too far. We push somebody beyond what their capabilities are. So now we know, cool, that was too much. The kilo strength one, potentially so. This is what I'm looking at. I'll have answers for you tomorrow. Like velocity-based training would definitely be useful. The Nordic one would be useful. The isometric stability one would be useful. The balance one would be useful. Contacts. There's a mobility. Mobility one's quite interesting. So you can put it on somebody and see how much range they've got, and it'll measure the degrees for you if you're not very good at eyeballing it. And like the jumps wouldn't be useful. It does strength endurance as well, which could be useful. So there's definitely stuff that is useful for Gen Pop in here, but probably potentially not worth the money. Because it could be, you could just eyeball it, if that makes sense. Does anyone have any else? Kane, have you got anyone you particularly want to go through before we end the call today?
No, I've booked a call with you later anyway.
Sure. As in later today?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. What time do you book in? Oh, 5 o'clock. No sweat. Awesome. Anyone else, Lorenzo? Anyone else you want to go through? All good. Cameron, all good? Sweet. Jenna, you're just here for the ride today. But awesome. So tomorrow we're going to be back on the functional nutrition talk. So we went through inputs last week. That call will hopefully go up on the portal in the next couple of days. GraphFit started yesterday. We went over the cell. Tomorrow we're going to be looking at liver, brain, thyroid. So the HPA axis, thyroid, liver, toxins, etc., etc. And then we're going to get into really actionable stuff of meal plan making and all that other stuff. So catch you then, guys. Big soon.